What is going on, guys? It is that male CNA. We are recording another video. Today's topic is the negatives of working in a nursing home or in the healthcare field in general as a certified nursing assistant or anyone that is below the level of a registered nurse or LPN. So, food for thought, going off a little bit off topic. So I've been doing these videos now for about the last 6 years. I have not uploaded as much, and I promise that it's going to change. I want to come up with some video ideas, but this one was just a spur of the moment type of deal, and I wanted to record it while the ideas were still fresh. So with that being said, let's get into it. So working in the field that I have for the past 6-7 years has really awakened me what it means to be a patient care technician, someone who is certified with BLS, ACLS, working on the phlebotomy and EKG, still have the CNA certification, and every once in a blue moon I still teach CNA classes. Now there's a lot of different things that you can do with your CNA, such as working in a hospital, a doctor's office, nursing home, skilled long-term care facility, or an assisted living facility. Now with that being said, the top 3 things for me working as a CNA have been the lack of respect, the abuse of patients, and the understaffing issues that every long-term care facility that I've ever worked in is currently facing. Also, disrespect from the suit and ties, if you will. So, let's talk a little bit about the abuse and mistreatment from patients. So, I range anywhere from 15 to 20 patients per shift, with 1 or 2 other aides on the unit. It depends on the 3 to 11. It might be 15 patients, 10 to 15 patients, with lack and disrespect. So we're not seen as the same type of medical professional as a nurse would be, or a licensed vocational nurse or an LPN, depending on where you work. Now, with a lot of that, it has to go with the level of schooling that you get, okay? So most nursing programs are like 10 months to 2 years, depending on if you're part-time or full-time. Now, they're always seen in a brighter light because they're the ones passing the pain meds, the anti-inflammatories, the issues for cardio issues. It could be anywhere from, hey, give me a Tylenol because I've got a headache or my nose is running or I got a sore throat. So they're seen in a brighter light because they're making the patient's mindset and physical well-being better. Now, CNAs are only seen as the one who are the cleaner boys or the cleaner girls, okay? Go in, make sure your patients are dressed and washed, okay? And clean before the end of your shift. But that's not true. We are providing the most one-on-one care with these patients 3 to 4 times per shift, depending on how frequent their incontinence level is. And with that being said, we see them more than their own families do. A lot of these patients will abuse and neglect us by hurting us, calling us names, making us feel emotionally unwell. This field can be very physically demanding as well. You have some patients that could be 465 pounds and you're expected to do that said person by yourself. Or conveniently, no one else is able to help you when you need the backup from your other CNAs. I've been in that situation several times myself. It's not fun. So with that being said, let's talk about why patients feel that way. They feel as though we're not as important as the nurses are due to the reasons I had stated before. We're seen as like the bottom rung in these nursing facilities, even though we are the backbone. We are the ones who, as I had stated previously, are the ones who provide the most one-to-one patient care, and we see these people more often or not than our own families half the time. That's just the way it is, especially around the holidays. Now, let's talk about the different con of something related to pay. So the work that we do is where we are not paid enough for all the work that we do. We're responsible for ADLs, ambulating, transfers, changing, washing, bathing, incontinence care, making sure their dentures are clean, making sure that they're clean, making sure that we're looking out for any changes in their mental status or their baseline. We're responsible for vitals, EKGs, and interdependent on where you work, some facilities also have in-house phlebotomy training just so they don't have to outsource it to other people. or other agencies. I know that the facility that I work for in-house trains their CNAs to do phlebotomy and EKGs, and that's a nursing home, but they own like 80 different places. Now, with that being said, the pay scale, anywhere in New York where I'm located, it could be $18 to $31 an hour, depending on if you're closer to New York City. But if you're more in the upstate New York area, it's about $20 to $23 an hour, depending on shift differentials and what kind of bonuses you may get for picking up shifts. They also sometimes will offer like a short staff bonus, depending on whether or not you have one or two aides for your evening or overnight shift. In certain circumstances, I know that overtime is abundant, but who wants to burn themselves out for people that are not grateful for it at the end of the day? A lot of the time, they are not. They're like, oh, hopefully you stick around. You know, it's always nice to hear that, but at the end of the day, there's more options for us out there than just one facility. And that's what I like to tell other aides. It's like, hey, listen, don't let this be your final go-to place. Continue your education, especially when I'm precepting other aides or teaching them, as you will. Now, the pay scale, I do feel as though we are definitely underpaid for what we do. All the work that is expected of us, all the patients that we care for, we definitely need to take a look at that. But you know, that's all up to your unions and how much these facilities are willing to pay, whether you work agency, which I highly advise most people to do. But you know, depending on if you need health insurance, a lot of agencies don't offer that. Now, I know that the union that I'm with, $11.99, after the age of 65, you are offered the free health insurance, a basic pension, 401k. They also have company matches, interdependent on with your frills or no frills. Now, frills would be, oh, hey, I want to accrue sick time, I want to have PTO, I want to have vacation time, I want to have the health insurance, which in my case, it's an obvious no-brainer. I would rather take a 75-cent pay cut than not have those bonuses listed, because I work too much for, you know, saying if I want a weekend off, I could just go ahead and not work for 5 days if I want to use PTO, which is always a beautiful thing, especially if I want to, you know, go to Caden's birthday or take off for Jamie's birthday, which I've stated to you guys in previous videos, or just have some time off to myself, because Lord knows we all need it. Now, another con of being a CNA is what this work emotionally does to you. So, the emotional aspect is you come to work feeling drained and burned out. If you're working 5 or 6 different shifts straight, right, you can just feel like, oh man, I really don't want to be here today, I'm calling in, which really can affect your coworkers, the emotional and moral aspect of it. But here's the flicker with that. A lot of people don't see the other end, because there's always constant call outs in these facilities. So if you feel like you're excuse my French, but if you feel like you're screwing over your other coworkers, 9 times out of 10 that person's going to call out the day before or the day after that you do anyways. It's more of like a get back at you system is what I like to call it, because if you call out one day, they're going to call out the next, make you short staffed on that day. So that's just the way it is. Emotionally, it does take a toll on you. You're dealing with conditions that are 9 times out of 10 unfavorable. You are breaking your back, you're sweaty, it gets hot in these patients' rooms. We all know the smell of C. diff. If you worked as a CNA or a nurse, it can be really, really bad. The most emotional aspect of it that takes a toll on you is becoming attached to these residents, because we all know that coming into a long-term facility, these people are usually there for your end-of-life care. These people in their 70s, 80s, 90s. You do on occasion have trauma centers, which are dealing with people around my age range in their early 30s. A lot of that depends on where you work. You know, it's a very wide and varying age group, but it emotionally takes a toll on you because you become attached to these residents. I advise my students, like, you know, try not to, but it's very hard not to at the end of the day, because you're seeing these people more than your own family, as I stated previously. It definitely, for me, is the emotional aspect of becoming attached to these people, seeing them prosper, and the next day they could be gone, which is horrible. My least favorite thing to do as a CNA is the post-mortem care. It's very difficult to be working on a body that was once a vibrant person with a story of their own, you know. They're sitting in there basically just living each day like there's nothing going on exciting. You know, another aspect of these facilities which really bothers me is the people who become recluse and depressed because they're not getting the proper level of care that is needed for them because of such short staffing in these facilities. This video is a little bit more of an eye-opener on what the realistic expectations of being a CNA are. Now, let's talk a little bit about the abuse that we may face. Like I said, you know, getting yelled at, screamed at, you know, the backstabbing of other CNAs. Those are the three big things that I would say, and that ties into the suit and ties or the administration of these facilities, right? Say you are doing your last rounds and there's still one patient that you unfortunately couldn't get to in the time frame that you have, and you're already working your double, you're at the end of your 16 hours, or I've seen in recent circumstances some people working 18 or 20 because they feel bad for the facility because they're short-staffed. I'm sorry, but that's not my problem. I'm going home at the end of my 16. I'm going back home to my family, and thankfully I only live 15 minutes away from the facility that I currently work at. It's a lot on you. It really is. You know, being a CNA or even an LVN or an LPN or a state test nursing assistant, wherever you've worked. When I've done my travel contracts in different states, they were called. When I was up in Vermont, as you saw in that video quite a few years back, I told you that my title was actually a state test nursing assistant, but that's besides the point. Being a CNA, guys, is not an easy job. It could be emotional, it's taxing on your body. The physical demands can be quite burdensome, but you know, at the end of the day, the number one thing that makes this job so worth it is the fact that I'm able to put a smile on my patient's face. The fact that I'm finally doing now what I really want to with my life. You know, as you guys know, I did take time off from being a CNA to go work in different fields, and it just never felt right to me. I was always emotionally taxed, more so than I was being a CNA. Listen, there's always days as a CNA where it's going to be like, oh Lord, you know, I can't do anything else with my life. You know, we all feel as though it's like, oh, this is really what I'm doing at a certain age. Even I felt that. But I know at the end of the day, this is what I want to do. This is what I love doing. And I'm incredibly happy because I am now pursuing the nursing avenue. I'm getting signed up for school. I'm in the process of that for my RN. And I know that more than anything, I would love to be that supervisor that sits behind the desk and doesn't have the proper bedside manner, but that's not me as a person. I will be out there doing changes. I'll be out there passing meds. I will do whatever is necessary to make sure that these patients are properly taken care of at the end of the day. And the ultimate goal is to open up my own home health care agency. And yeah, we'll see where it goes from there. This was just a video that was kind of a spur of the moment type of deal. And hopefully, you know, I can record it a little bit more professionally going forward. And I really hope that you guys enjoyed this and it was a little bit more of an eye-opener from the usual videos that I do, because I usually just talk more about the positive aspects of being a CNA. And I will make a video about that for my next one, which is going to be uploaded next week. Jamie's going to help me with that. We're going to get the nice intro back in. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of an update on how Caden's doing and get him in the video as well. And yeah, we'll go from there. Other than that, I'm looking forward to continuously updating this channel, guys. We're at 96 subscribers. I'm pushing really hard to get at least to 100 by the end of the year. That would be beautiful. You know, a couple videos do have a couple thousand views, which is nice. Other than that, I am really looking forward to seeing where this healthcare journey goes. All right, that male CNA out.